This is a continuation of the Veterans in Politics International endorsement interviews for Sunday, April 6, 2014. We're now starting the interviews for State Senate District number 21. Here are the guidelines. A strict schedule will be adhered to without exception. This is an interview, not a debate. No redirect questions. Candidates are allowed a 1.5-minute introduction. Panelists are given 30 seconds to pose a question. Candidates have 1 minute to respond. If time allows, audience members will be invited to pose a question, and/or the panel members may ask 4 questions. This is not a forum to air personal grievances. Complex questions that require too lengthy an answer will be disqualified. Panelists will only pose their questions to one candidate, or all candidates only if a yes/no answer can be given. Those are the guidelines, and gentlemen, we can begin with introductions. Mr. McGinnis, would you please like to take a minute and a half and tell us about yourself?
First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Ron McGinnis. I am a candidate for the State Senate District 21. I am 60 years old. I've been a Las Vegas resident since 2005. Made Las Vegas and Nevada my home, and I'm concerned about the things that are going on in our state with the political situation. As you can probably attest from my appearance, I am not a career politician. I don't claim to be a career politician. I am a taxi driver here in Las Vegas. I work 60 to 84 hours a week. And I'm just a concerned citizen who is sick and tired of being sick and tired. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manendo.
Well, bon appetit, right? Is that what you're saying? Enjoy lunch as we bore you to tears. My name is Mark Manendo, and I am running for re-election to Senate District 21. It's always an honor to come before Veterans in Politics. I have when I ran for election to Senate District 7. Then with redistricting, with the census, they redistricted, changed numbers. We used to have some dual districts, so we got rid of all of those, so now each district has their own number. So now Mr. McGinnis and I are running for Senate District 21, which in the 4 decades I've lived in Nevada is something new. So it's interesting that we now have our own identity. We don't share it with other senators. I moved to, like I said, Las Vegas 4 decades ago, and my dad was a 100% disabled veteran, and we needed to get out of the east. It was very cold. I lived in Erie, 2 blocks from Lake Erie. It was, if anybody's lived back east a little bit, especially if you live really close to the lake, the humidity and the dampness, the cold, it was just very difficult. And never growing up, I've never knew my dad being healthy. It was kind of a godsend that we finally decided to make the move to the west, where it was drier, warmer, and our family feels that it probably put another decade on his life. My dad did pass away in 1999. He served in the Korean War. So all you veterans out there that are on this panel, that are in the audience and that are listening and watching, I thank you for your service, and we're grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll begin with panel questions. And who doesn't have a bite of food in their mouth at the moment? Okay, we'll start with Ms. Caden. Why don't you begin, and we'll come down this way. Okay.
It's okay. My question is for Mr. Mark Manendo. Over the past year, while you were in office, what do you consider is your biggest achievement, and what do you plan to execute as a major initiative if you were to be reelected?
Well, thank you for the question. One of the things that I always pride myself on, and I know that some people may say there are folks that are career politicians, but if you understand Nevada politics in the legislature, we serve for 120 days every 2 years. So with the amount of time that I served in office, it's about a total of 2 years completely from day one to the end of where we're at now and the number of days that we serve. I pride myself on working in the community, getting feedback from those that I represent. During the last legislative session, one of the biggest things that we dealt with, we started what we call a Southern Nevada caucus. And that was across the board, Democrats and Republicans working together to, sorry, it's so hard to see you folks so with the lights, but I'm not turning my back on. But working together to try to better the lifestyle and the quality of life of people in Southern Nevada. So you've probably seen a lot of that in the news. We've extended that to,
You can finish your.
oh, sorry. We extended that to after the legislative session, and now we have business leaders and special, interest, veterans, seniors, community members working together to create something that we're going to take back to the next legislative session.
And so that's your biggest accomplishment last year?
Well,
or
yeah.
over the last 2 years, right?
Well, it's actually the last legislative session. One of the things that that we hear from most is that we in Southern Nevada, that has most of the population, has obviously most of the tax money, receives less money than folks that live in other places in the state. So we need to make sure that we work hard to receive our fair share. That is a huge, top to bottom, Democrat, Republican, business leaders to our seniors. That is one of the biggest issues that we started addressing last legislative session that will continue to the next legislative session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go to Mr. Epperson. When I raise my hand, that means
sorry,
you
yeah.
got 10 more seconds.
I got
and, then,
you.
and then I'll just say time.
Perfect.
Mr. Manendo, what is your green initiative if you do have one? For if you're to be reelected, or do you have one in the works, or?
Well, if you're talking about, our natural resources, my biggest thing has always been, I'm an avid recycler, and if you look down in my car right now, I'm not embarrassed to say that I have a lot of recycling in my car, because where I live in a condo, we don't have any means to recycle. So I take it to a place to recycle. I don't get any money, I just want to do my part in the world. I think, and I actually proposed legislation in the past to actually start making that a mandate, that apartment complexes and condos that don't have that curbside appeal from our garbage, our republic, will be mandated and then start doing that. I really feel that, I don't look at it as, I'm not a trash expert, but I see this as a way to actually increase and do actually our economy, expand our economy, because there's a lot of money in recycling, and the more people that do it, the more businesses, mom and pop businesses, will actually open up and start doing that. And that's why you're seeing an influx in that.
Thank you.
It's a win-win for the community.
Mr. Jonas.
Serious smile on the legit. Okay, so my question is for Mr. McGinnis. So you say you're not a career politician, and you're proud of that, which I understand where you're coming from. My question to you specifically is, if you were to beat Senator Manendo, wouldn't you then become a career politician, and how would you act differently than your opponent if you were to defeat him?
Well, what I plan to do, if time permits, before I make any vote on any bill that comes before the state senate or the legislature, I will hold a town hall meeting, find out how my constituents want me to vote, because I'm there to represent them, not any special interest, not my own agenda. If I'm elected to represent the people in my district that elected me and the people of this state. They need to know that they have a voice in the legislature. That's what I want to do, is carry the people's voice to the legislature.
Thank you. Lily.
This question is for both. It's yes or no, right? It's for both? Okay. So my question is what steps would you take, we'll start with Ron, what steps would you take in order to help with the economy as far as diversifying the economy itself outside of tax breaks? Because I hear this all the time, and it's a bunch of bull for the most part. I'm over that. So what would you do outside of that in order to diversify the economy here in Southern Nevada?
In the state of Nevada, we need to diversify our economy. The state of Nevada has been relying too heavily for so many years on mining and gaming for the bulk of the state revenue. I want to work with industry and manufacturing and bring that here to Nevada, put people back to work at good quality jobs that they can be proud of, that they can raise their families, and they don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. Once they've paid their bills, they have enough that they can put money in the bank.
How would you do that? If you're gonna bring manufacturing here, what's one step you would take? Just give me one thing you would do. How would you do that?
Well, we have to make sure that our tax base is business friendly for everyone, and these businesses know that what they're gonna be paying now, they know what they're gonna be paying in taxes down the road, and it's all on an even keel.
Thank you. It's absolutely a very important question. When we talk about diversifying the economy, it's so complex because there are so many things that we could be doing individually. When the voters approved gas taxes, as an example, that creates jobs. And I do hear, and I heard what you said, and I couldn't agree more. There are certain folks who will just, talk about, we'll just make it easier for businesses to come here. If we all live here, we know how our economy is, and if we just compare it to California, I understand we all want to be sensitive to the tax structure. California has some of the highest tax structures in America, and their economy is thriving. There's going to be a point where we have to think about what we need to do as far as where we want to be in Nevada. Higher education, research. We're talking about the new hospitals that are coming in. We need to expand on that, and we all can be a part of that. When we spend $1, we get usually $3 back. So if we start investing in our future, it creates jobs, and business leaders will come here. They'll want to open their doors here. Education.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go to this side of the room. Mr. Charles, you're up. You pass. Okay.
I'm thinking.
All right, Mr. Angel.
Ron, say you get elected, what's the one project, one issue that you personally have a desire to change in the state or help the state get better?
Well, one of the projects that I want to deal with in the state of Nevada, right now, over 65% of the people in this state who apply for Social Security disability benefits are denied. That is totally unacceptable. I want to make it easier for the people that need their disability benefits to get it, and the people who are abusing the system, make it harder for them to come in here and take what they don't need.
Well, that's a federal issue, not a state issue. So what state issue would you address?
Well, Social Security itself is a federal issue,
Right.
but the disability is on a state level. The state of Nevada is the hardest state in the world, or in this country, to get your disability benefits. My fiance has been trying to get hers for 2 years. My brother got his in Georgia in 3 months. I want to make it easier for the people here in Nevada that need disability benefits to get it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hall.
I'm going to direct this question to the senator. You said a little bit ago that you're an avid recycler. Okay. I would like to recycle myself. Okay. My biggest problem that I have. Okay. I don't want to throw my recyclables or take the time that I have to waste throwing them into a single bin and handing them over to a multi-billion-dollar company called Republic. I have a problem with that. is there any way that you could come up with, or a suggestion, if you were re-elected to office, in order to make it so that the people themselves, like the individuals, can actually profit from recycling? I mean, California has like a 5-cent thing on each bottle or coin, and I know when I lived down in California, nothing went past me. Okay, I made sure I got my money back.
In Pennsylvania, I remember growing up, good question, is saving the bottles, and I'll tell you, that's how I got my football card money. I mean, that's what we did, and then, that was great, and then we saved a little bit more, and then I was able to buy a bike. That has been an issue that we have debated. Something that Orange Hall actually had a bill last legislative session, maybe even the last two, apologize, I can't remember, and that's been debated. I think that's going to continue to come up and talk about that. But there are some places, I know I don't know if Mr. McGinnis realized, but we have recycling facilities, several of them in Senate District 21, where people can take their stuff. And what I have done personally is when I have the time, or if I know somebody who's collecting, I will take my papers, my cardboard, and my plastics to them and let them do it. In fact, we have a lot of senior mobile home parks in District 21, and they use the tin cans, and they use that to help, when they collect enough, they use that money to then feed some of the people that are disadvantaged in their community that are living really on extreme fixed income. So there's ways to do it. It's a lot of effort to do that. I would love to see a process where it can be opened up, and as you know, the county and city have a contract in place with Republic, and I don't know, is that another 18 or 20 years? I'm not sure. So I don't think that can change, but there's ways to go about it, and the deposit issue that you're talking about will be debated again next session, as far as from what I know.
Thank you. I heard Mr. McGinnis's name mentioned in your response, so he has a chance to respond if he wants to.
Well, there are places where the general public can take recyclables. There's a place in North Las Vegas on Losey Road, Silver Dollar Recycling, where you can take your tin cans, your plastics. I myself, I drink probably 2 cases of Diet Coke a week. And all of my tin cans I save, my landlord, her father's a minister in California, I give them to her, she takes them to him, and they do the recycling and use it for church functions that they have, where they help some of the elderly and with their situation. And that's how I recycle, that's what I do.
And the only problem with that, Mr. McGinnis, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
is that when you take them to a recycling center, those recycling centers, okay, pay their workers minimum wage, okay, which isn't enough to live on in society today, and they make a major profit on it. And a lot of these recycle centers, like the ones you just said, now I don't know Silver Dollar, I know they've been there a long time, but I don't want to insinuate that they're not above board, okay? But when I was at work one day, I stopped a guy from stealing a grate out of the street. And he was gonna take it to a recycling center, and yes, they will accept it, which costs the taxpayers money.
Mr. Wolf, did you want Mr. Guinness to respond to that comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what the recycling centers pay their employees, but I do know that they pay so much per pound for the tin cans, the plastic, and I know that they probably do accept anything that you take over there. But as far as people stealing grates out of the street, I don't agree with that. And if they know where that comes from, I don't think that they should take it. But all I would just say is people with their tin cans and their plastic, if they take them to a place, a recycling center like that, they do get paid by the pound for what they take.
Mr. Manendo, maybe you can get one final comment on here, then we'll move off of recycling.
I love recycling, so I'm just,
Okay.
honestly, look at my car, I have like 5 bags right now. But we passed a law that you have to show ID now, so that way folks that go around like they have in Desert Inn Mobile Estates in my district, our district, people are going around actually stealing the copper wiring from the units, the air conditioning units, and going down and selling it. And they're being caught because when they go in, they're saying, can I see your ID? And then they're able to catch it. I think it was Channel 13 actually did a story on that. And actually some of my friends that happened to, they were victims. But it happens a lot, sadly, we see that, and it does cost taxpayer money. I mean, even the plaques at parks, people are trying to steal, or are stealing those and trying to cash in money. It's just horrible.
Great.
I'm glad you
Mr.
talked about that.
Mr. Crisper?
Yes. Just an FYI, when Republic comes to pick up the recycle, now they give us a newspaper bin, they give us a glass bin, and they give us a aluminum bin. But every time I see them do it, they just throw all 3 of them into the same microphone. They put it right into the truck, and they don't separate it there, so I don't understand why they separate it, but that's another reason.
And that's why they're gonna go to the single stream now. They're working on the single stream.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah, I get it.
Because I agree with you. It's all,
I mean, that's just silly, I
it's
mean.
like all your food goes down the one hatch, right?
Right.
So,
So why do they have it separated when they just throw it in one truck? But my question is about the energy. The gas bill is going up crazy. I mean, it's almost doubled in the past 2 years, and it's nonsense. The electricity bill, I try to keep my electricity bill, that's gone up crazy in the last 2 years, and it's nonsense. My question is that, does the Senate ever have any idea if they want to open up to the not to the public, to monopoly, yeah, because it's a monopoly. Open it up so like NV Energy would have to compete with other companies for business. And the same thing with the Southwest Gas, because we don't have a choice. And by opening up choices, and the prices would go down, it would save us a lot of money. We do whatever we can to
Thank you.
save money. And it ain't happening right now because it's literally almost doubled in the past 2 years.
yeah.
And is that directed to Mr. Manendo?
Yes, Mr. Manendo.
Yeah,
And then I'll ask Mr. McGinnis if he has any thoughts on that.
Thank you. And, you know, just like with Republic, we have monopolies, and those are in place, and, you know, competition is important. And, you know, I think over time, you're gonna see a different type of public. I think you're seeing that in the way we think about things, whether it's higher education or K-12, how the money we spend on roads. There's a lot of things that we're doing that we're shifting our focus and rethinking the way we do things. And I think that's healthy to have those kinds of conversations. I always, because I have, you know, district where we have a lot of older homes as well. So we're always encouraging people to utilize those resources that are out there to make sure that they if they're able to, do some things on their home, reinvest in their homes that save them money down the line. I know that.
I've done that.
Right.
And it still goes up.
and-
I mean, I put on
and-
the tinting, then I put on the solar panels, you know, I do that and it still goes up. I mean, it's still just,
I know, you know, you probably, I don't know what you rent this facility out, but it might be more money than it was 2 years ago. I mean, prices do go up, things change. I wish I had the wand to fix everything, or.
I'm not asking you to fix it. What I'm asking is that the plan on it, like within the next year or so, to open up the.
I'm not an attorney.
So,
I
Mr.
can't
Cresper and Mr.
answer.
Manendo, this isn't supposed to be a dialogue, it's supposed to be one question, one answer.
Oh, sorry.
Why don't we move on to Mr. McGinnis, because we're getting close to running out of time here, and I want to make sure that we get a chance for Ms. Broadway to ask some questions. Rest. So, Mr. McGinnis, did you have a follow-up, or do you have a response?
Well, I agree with that. I feel like that we should open up competition in those areas of electricity, gas. Look what happened when we broke up Ma Bell. For years, the telephone company, there was only one telephone company. You had to go through Ma Bell. Now we have AT&T, Verizon, we have Metro PCS, we have Cricket, we have all of these different phone companies with different phone services, and the prices have gone down. The cost for your monthly service is not what it used to be. Well, we've got free long distance now. It used to be, you call your operator, you say, I want to make a long distance call to wherever. Now you just dial the number. I think that should be opened up as far as energy with electricity and gas.
I want his cell carrier because mine keeps going up.
Why not?
Well, I have Metro PCS, and it costs me $76 a month for 2 lines, and I have a smartphone with the unlimited talk, text, and everything else, and that's all I pay is $76 a month for 2 lines. So,
Ms. Broadway, would you like to join us with some
Yes.
questions?
Good afternoon. My question is for you, Mr. Mark. What has your experience during your time in office been with collective bargaining? Or how do you feel about it? And can you give us some examples specifically about how you've dealt with it?
Thank you for the question. I actually am a supporter of collective bargaining rights for state employees, which is where our jurisdiction is at the state level. I feel that workers deserve those rights, and they should have those opportunities to be able to collective bargain. We've had several different bills over my tenure, and sadly, they've all have gone down the hill. They didn't pass. I think it was back in the 90s. It reached the governor's desk and was vetoed. But I do support collective bargaining rights for our workers. They deserve it.
Mr. McGinnis, do you have anything to add?
well, I agree with collective bargaining. Everyone should be able to bargain for higher wages. I myself, as a taxi driver, we have a union at our company. But myself and the majority of our drivers working anywhere from 60 to 72, 84 hours a week, for the most part, are working beneath minimum wage. And workers need to have groups where they can go to the companies and look, we need to make more money. You're making billions and we're working for peanuts. I agree with that.
Thank you, sir. Let's see, we had passed Mr. Charles. Did you have a question at this time? We're coming back to you.
I'm going to go back to the question about funding for the performing arts in Nevada, especially Las Vegas. Does the legislature have any kind of a plan for future funding, for future allocations, that money will be brought into this area so that the performing arts, which, because I have a jazz band, but anyways, all performing arts can, like they used to have, where we could perform in the parks, and it was half funded by the state and half funded by different entities here. They took that away, put us all out of business. So are there any future plans to reinstate any of that? Has anybody ever discussed it?
We do, and I'm actually a very proud member of the Nevada Arts Advocates, and there is a Nevada Arts Day, so the advocates such as yourself could come up and express that to all the elected officials. It costs money. That's the biggest thing that we're dealing with, and that's probably where we may differ a lot on, is that I feel that we need to have more revenue. I think culture is very important. We have a beautiful Smith Center, and I was actually a part of that legislation that helped create the Smith Center through legislation that we did. So I appreciate what you do. I think that's very important. People want to go out in the community. They want arts in the park. Lake Las Vegas is also in my district, and I remember going out there many times and hearing the wonderful people. I have no talent like that, but I am somebody who really appreciates that. So I think that brings family together, that brings community together, and I think the little bit of money that we spend and invest on that, we get tenfold back. And I think one of the ways to also diversify the economy is through the arts. You're going to see that being more of a way to actually, businesses want to come here because they see we have the Smith Center. That cost money. We invested, we did it, now you're seeing it. We're known worldwide now with our Smith. I was actually on stage at the Smith Center, it was so great. I won't tell you next door, but I was on.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to Mr. Apperson, and then I think Mr. Klesper had one more follow-up. Or no, Mr. Holt. Let's go to Mr. Apperson first.
Mr. Manendo, what is your greatest weakness?
My greatest weakness, besides the fact that I'm vertically challenged, is that I think part of it is that I'm sleep deprived, and that hurts me in my I guess my ability to maybe focus more on what I should be doing. It just sleep apnea. So I just feel like I'm always dragging. So you just, do your protein shakes and you do the best you can. But that's probably the biggest thing for me, is that I know that I need to do better on my own personal health, and that will help me be a better person.
You look like we have a really important follow-up.
Well, no, it's just usually when I ask questions that are pretty similar, everybody says sleep. So if one thing besides sleep, if that's okay,
Yeah.
what would it be?
Probably not spending as much time with my family because of my 40, 50 hours of volunteer work that I do each week. I can bring my family and my friends and participate, and they do. They're just not as involved as I am with that. They do a lot. But when I just came from today is the start of National Victims' Rights Week. So I just spent 2 hours just down the street over here talking with about 200 victims, all law enforcement there. You'll see it all on television because all the news media happen to be there. And so, but that's something that when folks ask you to come out and speak and be participating in that, you just can't say no. And I just can't say no, and I want to help and do everything I can to make life a little bit better for one person every single day.
Thank you. Time for one last question. I think Mr. Holt.
Mr. McGinnis already answered or made this statement, so I'm going to ask you. He said he wants to concentrate on bringing business, manufacturing companies and other companies that produce product here into the southern basin of Las Vegas area. How do you feel that you might be able to also do that? I know of some people, all right, that have actually been told by their company that they are laid off because the city of Las Vegas is an import city, not an export city. We don't have enough people producing product here to ship it out.
Well, I guess that could be open to interpretation as well, but I think we're all ambassadors, we're all advocates for our state, and if we don't have conversations and talk about it, then we really have a wonderful city. We have a wonderful valley. We just need to tell everybody it's not just that beautiful view that we have out there. There's a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of money to be made in Southern Nevada, because not all of us gamble or drink or smoke or whatever. I mean, we all have our fun, but we all have needs. We buy clothes, we buy food, we want to shop. There's a lot of things that we can do, but we all need to be a part of that. So it's not about one person, it's about all of us together.
Thank you, Mark. And I understand Ms. Caton has an
Yes.
pressing question she wants to give you.
So my question goes to Mark Manendo. I agree. I love Las Vegas. I think we have a stigma of Sin City, and a lot of times a lot of corporate leaders and their wives don't want to come out here, especially the wives of their children, because they don't want to be associated with that. Have you thought about a marketing campaign to market us more as a valid community, a growing community, and improve our reputation, try to get away from Sin City?
Well, again, I think we're all ambassadors for that. We all have a responsibility to let folks know. I think the biggest thing is social media. It's really changed it. I know that, about 7,000 or 8,000 people that follow me on Twitter and Facebook, a lot of them are just folks that, are from other parts of the state that maybe just don't want to come down to Las Vegas and visit, or they're from somewhere else in the country or world. And we, talking about pictures, showing them beautiful Lake Las Vegas, showing them the wonderful places that you can shop and eat, the beautiful parks, our Smith Center that's so important.
I agree, but do we have a marketing budget for doing a PR campaign? Or
again, it's back to money, and the Lieutenant Governor's office. They're part of that responsibility. But to me, it's a responsibility of all of us.
okay.
Good question.
We're going over, but actually, the candidates who are supposed to come in next weren't here, so you guys are just cutting into your break time, but that's okay. Mike, you had another question?
Yes, this is for Mark. Mark, you said that Nevada needs more revenue. What particular taxes would you implement or raise, and why?
Well, I've been a supporter of making sure that, like, for instance, our roads, Southern Nevada has done a great job of, investing in those things. So, like, as an example, the 215, that wasn't paid for by state money, it was paid for by all of us in the South. So we have an opportunity to encourage our friends in the other counties to do what they need to do to get to the levels of funding that they can get to. Because there's certain caps out there, but they're well below that. With that said, that helps Southern Nevada, because as we export our revenue to help the other parts of the state, we could keep that money here, invest it here, create jobs here, have the benefits of what all that created here, and hopefully the personal responsibility of those other counties that are not paying what we're paying, they can start doing things on their own. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that the state actually went out and built schools in some of these rural counties because they didn't, well, they did have the means to raise their own taxes to pay for it, but they didn't. And so the state had to kick in and build some of those schools. What we do in Southern Nevada is we ask the voters. We ask the voters for bond issues increasing revenue to build those schools. So if the other counties would kind of follow our what we've done here in Southern Nevada, that will help us.
So you're talking about redistribution of current tax revenue, not necessarily raising new ones?
It might be a combination. So I think there'll be some discussions. I mean, as an example, we're all going to get a chance to vote on question 15, which has to do with the mining taxes, taking them out of the Constitution. If that happens, then there will be a conversation, and the mining industry knows this, there'll be a conversation about revenue from mining during the next legislative session.
So, Mr. McGinnis, you've been sitting here very patiently while the last 6 questions and subparts have gone to Mr. Manendo. I'll give you the last word. Would you like to give us some final thoughts and close this out here?
Well, we've all been talking about, and this is not just in this room, but everyone's been talking about the way the education system is here in Nevada. People talk about the fact that UNLV doesn't have a medical school. They have a law school, but no medical school. And the K-12, you're hearing we have budget cuts and teacher layoffs, school closings. I am a big advocate of the passage of the state lottery bill. It's been before the legislature, I don't know how many years. And if we could pass that state lottery bill, and I know the gaming industry doesn't like it, but they feel that it would take away from part of their revenue. But the majority of the people that live in Las Vegas and in Nevada, period, they don't go to the major hotel, resort, casinos on the strip. They go to the little mom and pop stores in their neighborhood, in their communities. But I feel like that the state lottery bill for education would fill that void.
Thank you very much. Well, this concludes our time. Senator Manendo and Ron McGinnis, thank you very much for attending the endorsement interviews.
Thank you for having me.